Jacob Fatu just gave Solo Sikoa a warning written in violence, and if you don't rejoin the Bloodline after this beating, there might not be a next time. Welcome back to WWE Express, and if you love breaking down every twist in this Bloodline saga, smash that subscribe button right now because tonight's SmackDown gave us a moment that could reshape the entire family forever. This wasn't a random brawl. This was calculated, deliberate, and it changes the shape of everything heading into SummerSlam season. Let's set the scene. Jimmy USO and Jacob Fatu walked out to the ring with one target in mind: Solo Sikoa. They weren't there to wrestle. They were there to send a message directly to the man who turned his back on his own blood. For weeks now, Solo has been slippery, avoiding direct confrontation with the very family he once ruled, hiding behind allies and excuses. Tonight, Jimmy and Fatu decided that ended. But Solo didn't answer the call. Instead, it was Royce Keys who stepped up, and suddenly the night took a completely different shape. Here's where it gets fascinating from a storytelling perspective. Jacob Fatu, the enforcer, the Samoan Werewolf, the most dangerous physical presence in this entire Bloodline saga, actually walked away from the confrontation. He left Jimmy USO alone in that ring with Royce Keys. Now think about what that tells us about where Fatu's head is at right now. This isn't the version of Fatu we've watched tear through opponents on instinct alone. There's calculation happening here. There's restraint. And when a predator like Jacob Fatu shows restraint, you know something bigger is coming. The Fatu we've seen for months doesn't walk away from anything. So why walk away from this? Sure enough, Solo Sikoa couldn't stay away. As Jimmy USO battled Royce Keys, Sikao appeared at ringside and attacked USO when he least expected it, sneaking in exactly the way he's operated since turning his back on the family. That's the Solo Sikoa we've come to know in this new chapter. Calculated. Opportunistic. Willing to strike from the shadows rather than stand and answer for his choices directly. But Jacob Fatu wasn't far behind. He came storming back to chase Sikao off, protecting his cousin and buying Jimmy USO the window he needed. Moments later, Jimmy planted Royce Keys with a spear and picked up the win, though by that point, almost nobody watching was thinking about the actual match anymore. But the match result was never the real story tonight. What happened after is what has this entire fanbase buzzing. Royce Keys, still feeling the sting of that loss, made the mistake of getting in Jacob Fatu's way as Fatu turned his attention back to Solo Sikoa. Fatu didn't hesitate. One super kick and Keys was down and out of the equation entirely, collateral damage in a war that was never his to begin with. That single strike told you everything about Fatu's mindset in that moment. Nothing and no one was going to stop him from getting to Solo, not a rival, not a distraction, nothing. And then it happened. Jacob Fatu grabbed a steel chair, wrapped it around Solo Sikoa's throat, and had him completely at his mercy. This was the moment. This was the image we've been building toward for weeks. The enforcer, standing over the man who abandoned the family, weapon in hand, primed to deliver a message that could not be misunderstood. For a few seconds, it genuinely felt like this was heading toward a moment of no return. And then Fatu stopped himself. This is the part of the story that separates great wrestling booking from ordinary wrestling booking. Jacob Fatu had every opportunity to end Solo Sikoa right there in the middle of the ring, and honestly, given everything Solo has done, very few would have blamed him. Instead, he pulled back. He held the chair. He held his aggression. And instead of finishing him off, he delivered something far more chilling than a beatdown. An order. Solo Sikoa is to show up on Raw and face Roman Reigns himself. Think about the layers packed into that single decision. Jacob Fatu isn't just protecting the family's interests anymore. He's operating with authority. He's making demands on behalf of Roman Reigns, positioning himself as the enforcer who delivers judgment but ultimately answers to the tribal chief. That's a massive character progression for Fatu. He's not just muscle anymore. He's become the messenger of consequences, the one trusted to carry out Roman's will without Roman even needing to be in the building. That kind of trust doesn't get handed out. It gets earned through exactly this kind of disciplined, purposeful violence. And for Solo Sikoa, this puts him in an impossible position. Does he show up on Raw and face Roman Reigns directly, a confrontation he has clearly been avoiding for weeks, maybe months? Or does he continue running, knowing that every time he dodges the family, Jacob Fatu will be waiting with less patience than the time before? We saw restraint tonight. Fatu held back. But how many more chances does Solo actually have left before that restraint disappears completely? Because make no mistake, the chair was there. The intent was there. Only the final swing was missing. It's also worth pausing on Jimmy USO's position in all of this. He spent weeks standing beside Fatu, doing the family's legwork, absorbing distractions and interference so that Fatu can stay focused on the bigger target, and yet tonight the spotlight barely touched him even in victory. Everyone left that ring talking about Fatu and Solo. That's not a knock on Jimmy, it's a reflection of just how magnetic this particular rivalry has become, and it raises its own question of whether Jimmy starts pushing for his own moment in this saga before long, or whether he's content playing the loyal supporting piece while Fatu and Solo settle a score that ultimately isn't his to finish. Let's talk about what this means for the bigger picture heading towards SummerSlam season. The Bloodline civil war has been building for months, with alliances shifting practically every week. Solo Sikoa aligning himself with LA Knight against the very family he once ruled with an iron fist was already a seismic shift in this story. Now, with Fatu applying direct pressure and essentially forcing a confrontation with Roman Reigns, we could be looking at the collapse of Solo's independence altogether. Is this the beginning of the end for Solo Sikoa standing on his own? Or does this pressure push him even further away from the family, deeper into that alliance with LA Knight as a means of survival, and possibly deeper into a war with the entire bloodline structure Roman has spent years building? There's also the question of what Roman Reigns actually wants here. Is this Roman testing loyalty one final time, giving Solo a last opportunity at redemption before it's too late? Or is Roman simply done extending patience, using Fatu purely as an instrument to bring Solo in for a reckoning that has been a long time coming? Knowing how deliberately this bloodline story has been paced, I don't think either answer is simple. This has always been a story about family, betrayal, and the price of choosing loyalty over ambition. Solo Sikoa chose ambition once before. Now he has to decide if he's willing to pay for that choice all over again, this time face to face with the man he once called tribal chief. What makes Jacob Fatu such a compelling figure in all of this is that he never feels like a cartoon enforcer. Every action he takes seems to carry weight and intention. Stopping himself from finishing Solo with that chair wasn't mercy for mercy's sake. It was strategy. A beaten, humiliated Solo Sikoa forced to walk into Roman Reigns' presence is a far more powerful storytelling tool than a Solo Sikoa left unconscious in the ring. Fatu understands that, maybe even better than Solo understands himself at this point. And that level of nuance is exactly why this feud continues to be one of the most gripping threads in all of WWE programming right now. So where does this go from here? All signs point toward a monumental confrontation on Raw between Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns himself, assuming Solo actually shows up. And if he doesn't, you can bet Jacob Fatu will be the one hunting him down next, and next time, the chair might not stop short of its target. There's also a real possibility that LA Knight gets pulled directly into this mess, either standing beside Solo as backup or watching from a distance to see just how far Roman's family is willing to go to bring one of their own back into the fold. Either way, the temperature on this bloodline saga just rose significantly, and it feels like we are racing toward a moment that fans have been anticipating for a very long time, the moment Solo Sikoa finally has to answer for everything. What do you think happens on Raw? Does Solo Sikoa answer the call and face Roman Reigns head-on, or does he run again and push Jacob Fatu past the point of restraint? Drop your predictions in the comments, I want to hear every theory you've got. If this breakdown added something to how you're watching this story unfold, hit that subscribe button, because WWE Express is here every step of the way through this bloodline saga and everything building towards SummerSlam. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.